welcome to the 8-Bit Music Chicken Gaming Show. Today I will be reviewing Phoenix for the Atari 2600. Now, this is a shooter that was requested by Charlie Cat, so thank you Charlie Cat for requesting this game. If you haven't heard of this game before, it's, as I just said, a shooter, and when you see a video or something, it may look like just a generic shooter, but there's really so much more about it, and it's really unique, and as well as that, just a really solid game. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and let's get it started. First, let's talk about the graphics. And I know not many people talk about the graphics with an Atari 2600 game, but it's an element I want to talk about, because sometimes it is actually really good. Because mostly the graphics on the Atari 2600 are really simple and there's not much to talk about. And the graphics on this game are simple, but there is a variety, because the colours of the enemies changes depending on which wave of enemies it is, and there are a lot of different enemies in this game. Well, 3, but because of how fast paced it is, it seems like a lot when you're actually playing it. And the animation of both your ship and the enemies are surprisingly good, and as well as that, the graphics on the Atari 2600, although they may not seem much, they have charm, and you really wouldn't want it to be any other way. Now let's talk about another thing which is a similar situation to the graphics, the music. But with Phoenix there is actually a lot to talk about with the music, because on most Atari games there's not much music or not any music going on, it's just sound effects. But here there is, and it may not sound like music, but it's really effective because it's just this fast-paced loop of music, and it really doesn't get boring when you're playing it, because it makes you feel like, oh my god, there's an alien invasion going on, I have to hurry up and defeat them. So it's really good, and as well as that, to help it from getting boring, there is a lot of variety. When a new type of enemy is introduced, the music changes, and that is really good, and it kind of builds up how fast-paced the music is, so it works really well for this game and fits with the gameplay. Speaking of which, the gameplay in this game is very good. When you start it off, you're fighting types of enemies that look just like any other enemy in a shooter, but don't let that deceive you, because these are very interesting enemies to fight, because the way they move is almost as if they are counteracting your attacks, and it is really clever how they do this with an Atari game. Like, what I'm talking about is where you'd usually move to try and get in a position to shoot them, they'd move, and to make it harder, they may move down halfway to try and get you, or move down a whole way, like basically near where you are at the bottom of the screen, and they are shooting all the time, and it is really interesting when you're fighting them. This makes the difficulty of the game spot on, especially when you first play it. It is definitely a challenge, but you keep wanting to come back and play some more. It is so addicting, and eventually you get good. You start to learn the best ways of doing things, and to be honest, that is the best kind of difficulty you can have in a game. So after the first wave of these enemies I've just mentioned, you move on to another, and then after that you move on to what I assume are phoenixes, and they have wings, and you may think, oh, a bigger target, these will be easier to defeat. Nope, because if you shoot the wings, they just grow back, so you have to shoot them right in the centre to defeat them. And how they move is rather hard to counteract too, so it's you having to counteract them, and it's really fun. And just like the first kind of enemies, when you've defeated the first lot of phoenixes, you get a second wave of them, but after that, you're on to the boss, and it is basically a giant ship made out of these tiny bricks. First, you have to shoot your way through these red bricks, then there's this blue bar that's going across. but when you shoot it and shoot holes in the blue bar, the holes move across. So the aim of defeating this ship is you have to shoot right in the centre of it, but to do that you have to get through these blue boxes. But because the enemy ship shoots just basically in the middle, or roughly in the middle of where it is, I find the best way to do it is to go to the edge of the ship first off, where it can't shoot you, and shoot a lot of holes into the blue bit. So after you've got past the red bit, which is fairly easy when you get the hang of it, although hard when you first play it, chances are when you shoot there'll be a space there to shoot through and defeat it. But after this boss, the game goes back to the start and you do it again. And it is really fun and really well done. And finally, let's talk about the controls of this game. Now, as expected, you use the joystick to move and the button to shoot. But also, there's one more control. If you go down on the joystick, it gives you a shield. And this comes really handy in the gameplay. Although with the first lot of enemies and the phoenixes, you won't usually be using this much unless you're in a really tricky situation and there are a lot of shots coming down and you can't escape. But with the boss, because as I said earlier it shoots down in the middle, you will need to use the shield, and when you're using the shield you can shoot but not move, and that is perfect for the boss. But with this control I do have a complaint, because you have to press down on the joystick the same way you'd move your ship. Sometimes you use your shield by mistake when you're trying to move left and right, and this can be kind of annoying, and sometimes it can get you killed, because when the shield stops a bullet may come down and kill you, and that wouldn't have happened if you didn't accidentally press the downwards on the joystick. But overall, that's the only flaw I can find with Phoenix. Phoenix is a fantastic game, and as it may look like just a generic shooter similar to those like Galaxians or Galaga, the way the enemies move is really unique, and it's actually fairly different to those kind of games. So this is now actually my favourite Atari 2600 game. So Charlie Cat, thank you for requesting this game. It is superb, and I suggest that every Atari 2600 owner should give this game a try. So, thank you for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.